Hello my lovelies, me again. I've decided to change my name. It seems that once you reach a certain level of awakening, that it seems to be mandatory that you have to change your name. So I've decided from now on to be called Dragonfly, Moon Hopping Sparrow. So I think it's got a nice ring to it. Rolls off the tongue. Yeah, so if you could refer to me as that from now on, I would appreciate it. You can abbreviate it to just Moon Hopping Sparrow, if you like. I don't mind. But I do like the dragonfly bit, so it's up to you. I'll leave it up to you. It's fine. It's been a funny couple of weeks again. I found this this place I am at the moment quite strange because I'm feeling very internal and not like I want to express very much. It's kind of like that part of me, as I said before, the part of me that was kind of sharing, she's not there. And even though I want to do this, I'm finding it really hard to just get things in any kind of sensible order. But I thought, well, I'm going to try anyway because I may as well. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Maybe the ramblings of a mad sparrow, I don't know. I'm not really changing my name. One of the things I want to talk about, I want to talk about a few things actually, and one of the things is surrendering. Somebody asked me a question about that and what it means, because they said that it was something that they'd seen people talk about but had always kind of never really understood or skirted around. And so I wanted to talk a bit about that, about the surrendering to the mind, really. I think that we're taught from a very early age that our mind is something that we mustn't indulge. And I think a lot of spiritual practices say that we mustn't indulge the mind. The mind should be ignored and worked around. And but for me, I tried that for years and it didn't work. And for me, the only way actually out was through. There was no hopping over the top into Wonderland. I had to go right through the middle of everything that I'd collected until I was able to come out the other side. And the surrendering part is actually the acceptance of the fact that you have to go through. I mean, it might not be the case for everybody. Maybe some people can just suddenly pop out, but I know I couldn't. Tried it, didn't work. So the surrendering for me started on the night when I had the realisation of that I had to go inside, and I'd been pushing away the reality of what I was. I wanted to be this free, ethereal, spiritual love child, but I wasn't. I was just a bloody mess. And once I realised that actually wasn't. Well, it's not necessarily all obtainable, really. And in the real world, you can pretend to be that, but until you actually come out the other side of yourself, you've got no chance, really. So surrendering started to happen for me that night when I decided to surrender to myself, to my mind, and allow it to just show me. I thought it was a mosquito. I'm slightly uncomfortable around mosquitoes. I decided that I had to allow it to show itself to me, whatever it was, however it came. And I think what I'm gathering from talking to other people is people are absolutely terrified of their imagination. And I think that's because when we're young children, right from when we start school probably, we're told to get our heads out of the clouds, stop daydreaming, get yourself into the real world. It's as if we deny the fact that we have an imagination and we don't think that we're allowed to use it. And a lot of meditation says that we mustn't, get away from the mind. But the thing is, the mind is there and our imagination is the mind. We are an imagination in a body. I mean, we're much more than that, but that's what we're living through. And if we deny the imagination its ability to show us what is there, then we just stay stuck in ourselves. But the thing is, it plays out anyway. But when we're denying the part of it that can be positive and good, all we get is the negative. And what the imagination gives us plays out in the emotions in the body. And so something happens, it triggers something in the mind, we imagine something, and then that gets bigger and bigger and bigger, all the feelings coming, and then it turns into a cycle of negativity that we can't stop, and we're pushing it away all the time because we don't want to feel like that, we don't want those thoughts. But when they're there. And there isn't actually very much that you can do about these emotions when they're in them, except for riding them out. But my theory is, instead of trying to push it away and ride it out, look at it. Just look and see what it is. Because it's there anyway. It's there. If it's in you at that moment and you're having all these feelings and thoughts, then why not allow them and go with them? You don't have to reject any of it, I've realised. Like even the stuff that, the negative side of me, it will sometimes show me scenarios, and I used to push them away because I think, what awful thoughts, oh my God, shouldn't be thinking things like that. But your mind is capable of thinking any kind of thoughts. And so if you start rejecting them, you can see what part of you is creating them and what they're showing you, because it's all showing you something. Every single thing that's in your head that you've accumulated throughout the years has got a story for you, or an idea for you, or a way out of yourself through you. It's just, we don't seem to have the ability to allow our minds to run. I realised that several months ago when I was going through this, that certain thoughts would come up and the mind would go, no, not that. And sometimes it wasn't necessarily even the negative side. It was the critic, I suppose. But because she had sort of become friendly, it didn't feel like it was particularly negative. But she was still rejecting thoughts because she didn't want those sort of thoughts. Spiritual people don't have thoughts like that. Was the kind of, we don't think things like that, Moon Sparrow. But we do. The thing is, we bloody do. And we just have to get to grips with that and allow our minds to show us whatever it wants to show us. And that is surrendering. Because once we start to surrender to the mind, we can see it from the perspective of kind of one removed almost. It's like you can step back and witness what it's showing you without rejecting or making it wrong. And so once you get into the habit of being able to do that, the mind starts to be able to show you so much. And you realise that every single thing, every question you've ever had, every thought you've ever had, every feeling you've ever had, you have got the answer inside of yourself. It's not out there, it's inside, it's in your heart, and it's in your mind, and it's in the emotions that come through your body. I know what it's like when the emotions are running wild and you're having a lot of a negative energy, because you find it really, really hard to access yourself because it's difficult. Over the last couple of weeks, I had a strange incident. Well, not strange, I suppose. I was meditating one night, and I was feeling really good about everything that had happened and where I was. And I thought to myself, I don't think that there is now anything that could really upset me, except for if something happened to my children, or my children were ill, or not in a good way. And then the next morning, my youngest son rang me up and said, "Mum, can you take me to hospital? I'm not well. I feel really, really bad." And what had happened was, he had been at work. He's a chef in a really great restaurant, very, very busy, and he was working, and all of a sudden, halfway down his face, it just went completely numb, and his arm stopped working properly. He went to pick up a frying pan, and it's a heavy pan, and obviously normally he picks it up and he could lift it, and his leg went dead, and it was kind of as if he was sort of cut in half. It was weird because he was having one half of his body was warm, normally warm, and the other side was cold and goosebumpy. It was most peculiar. And so I took him we went to the emergency room, and we've got a little one in our local town, and the doctor did all the sort of tests stick your tongue out and all those sort of things to check that you hadn't had a stroke. But we weren't really sure, but she was worried, so she sent us to the hospital. And we went in and we checked in, and we went through really quite quickly. And we saw this young doctor, and he started doing these, he did reflex tests, and he was getting him to do the thing where you put your hand and touch yourself on the nose. When he was using his good side, he could touch his nose. When he was using the other side, he was poking himself in the eye and hitting himself on the head. And I had a moment then of... But the funny thing about it from my perspective was I didn't actually get... My mind didn't kick in. So the negative side of me that before would have been having absolute conniption because there was something wrong with my baby, it just didn't happen. It was kind of as if whatever we didn't know what was happening. We didn't know what was going on. We didn't know what it was, and there was no need to make it into anything. It was just what it was in the moment, and it meant that I was able to just completely be there for him without getting caught up in my own story of what was going wrong, what was happening. And we were there they put us in this little room that they call a box, and all that was in there was a bed and the very, very uncomfortable chair. And we went in there about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and we were there till 3 o'clock in the morning, where they then came and took him and put him in a ward. And I went home then. But between sort of 12 and 3 in the morning, I was just lying on the floor, because there was nowhere really to sit comfortably. And I didn't know what was going on, but I still felt completely calm. It was as if it just didn't happen. It just didn't kick in. And like when I came home and the next day, before I had Google Queen, I would have been looking up every single possibility of what could possibly be wrong with him. But I didn't. And people were saying to me, "What do you think's wrong with him?" And I was just saying, "I don't know," because I didn't know. And I didn't need to make it into anything. I didn't need to think, "Oh my God, he might be dying. Oh my God, what if he never gets better? What if It just didn't kick in. And it was quite extraordinary, actually, because being a mum, that is the one thing that anything happening to your children, it's just, the thought of it is terrifying. And but it didn't materialise, and actually he stayed in hospital for 5 days. He had every single test going, and he's then spent another week at home, and he's just gone back to work, and he's got the feeling back in his face and his leg and his arms, sort of still a little bit weak, but it's better. And they decided that he'd had some kind of like mini stroke thing, and he's 21, so it's very, very strange. So we don't really know what's happened. And of course he's worried, or was. I think he's less worried now, but I saw him, he's actually usually very switched on and at home with himself, and I watched him descend into almost madness while he was in the hospital, of being somebody that can always see the bigger picture to being someone that could only see a picture that was this tiny. It turned into, for him, it was as if it was a big conspiracy at the hospital, and that they were not giving him a room, and because they put him in a ward with, horrible for him. I mean, he's a young man. He wasn't hooked up to anything. He felt kind of relatively normal besides this happening. He didn't feel ill. He just felt numb and strange. And they stuck him in this ward with probably 15 people. And there was one poor man in there who was obviously very seriously ill. And about every 20, 30 seconds he screamed. Awful, awful scream. And everyone around him was old and dying, really. And they wouldn't let him out of bed. He said when he first got in there, he said, "Where's the toilet?" And they gave him a bottle to pee in. And then they didn't want him to get out of bed, and you could only visit him for half an hour 3 times a day, and they were very strict about that half an hour. And he wasn't allowed to leave the ward. And so he was actually going out of his mind because he was waiting for a room, and he was on the phone to me a lot, ringing me up. I can't believe it, I still haven't got a room. He felt it was like, it turned into as if it was a conspiracy, because his mind just couldn't relax at all. And that was sort of interesting to see somebody who is normally very, very calm and switched on to descend into this kind of freaky mad place. So yeah, that was an interesting kind of experience, really. And after that happened, and he was back home after 5 days, and I was quite pleased with the way that I reacted and how I responded to it. But over the next couple of days, once he was home, now whether this was because once he was home I could breathe out, even though I didn't realise I was holding my breath, I don't know. I started to feel a bit agitated. It wasn't anxiety, it wasn't fear, I didn't know what it was. I just felt kind of touchy and just like I couldn't get out my own way, that kind of feeling. And I hadn't been meditating a lot because since the part of me that was the seeker has stopped seeking, when I sat down, nothing, I would sit in the void really, because nothing's really coming anymore. And that's another strange thing, because since she's gone, it's like where you have, when you're doing something and you think, right, I'll do it like that, and then your part of you goes, well, actually, it'd be better to do it like that, because if we do it, and you sort of come to a sort of conclusion in yourself about the best way to do things. Or you might be doing something, another part will say, well, actually, let's try that because that's not working. And she was really practical and good at stuff. And now when I think about something, there's just me. There's no, well, let's do it like this. So I'll think, how do I do that? And there's no answer. It's just, the void is just there. It's just the void. So I have to kind of work everything out for myself. And it's actually very tiring. I felt very tired, actually. But I'm not sleeping very well. Or I'm not sleeping as long, actually. And I feel quite tired a lot of the time. It's as if I can't really figure it out. But where before I would go to bed sort of 12, 1 o'clock and then wake up, I don't know, 9:30, 10 o'clock sometimes. Now I'm going to bed sort of 11 and I'm awake by 7:30. And I don't seem to be able to sleep as deeply. My interest in food has completely gone out the window. I mean, I wasn't particularly into it anyway over the last sort of year or so. I will make a video about weight loss because, and how going through this sort of spiritual change can stop you needing to overeat, because I actually find now that I have to make myself eat, which is weird. A complete change around from Mrs. Stuff It All In. But I forgot what I was talking about in the first place. This is the thing. This is what's going on. I don't bloody know what's going on half the time. But yeah, imagination, visualization and surrendering. The imagination, you have to allow it to be free. You have to let it show you what it has to show you. Quite a few people have said to me, well, that they can't visualise like I do. They say, I understand what you're saying, but my mind doesn't do that. But what you realise is that when I first started doing this, mine didn't really do it very well either. I wasn't very good at it. And, it was kind of be more sort of like little pictures and stuff. But it gradually got better and better. And it's like, when I used to think of an elephant, I saw an elephant in a colouring book. It would be one that had been drawn almost by a child, but now when I think of an elephant, I can see a fully formed elephant. And it's like the mind is actually like a muscle, and as you use it more and more and more and allow it, it becomes better and better and better at visualising. You literally, by allowing it to be, you allow it to show you what it's actually capable of, and it's capable of so much, and it has all the answers. So try that. Try when you sit down in pondering, meditation, whatever you want to call it, just see if you can allow the mind not to stop thoughts, not to stop the imagination. Accept that we are an imagination. That is our biggest asset, is our imagination. It's capable of so much, but we get it so squashed down into a little tiny place that it's not allowed to express. And so that's what we end up like, this tight thing that can't express itself. And you allow it to open up, and it all opens up for you. The world opens up for you. More about surrendering. I've just been to Barcelona for a few days. Now, it was lovely. Really, really nice place. Never been before. I never really went anywhere. I lived here for 10 years, but because I was so restricted in myself for so long, I've never even seen any of Spain. But I wanted to go and see Counting Crows because they're my favourite band, and I saw them in London in November, and they were playing in Barcelona, so I asked my partner if we could go, and we've got a friend there who's got a flat, and so, we thought we'd go. And but the funny thing is, when you're in the sort of space of surrendering, there isn't really, it works both ways. It's kind of like, you don't get het up about anything, but you don't get really excited about anything either. It's just a kind of neutralness runs through everything, which is, it's nice, but you don't get the real highs and you don't get the lows. You just get this kind of thing in the middle. Like the morning that we were going, we had to leave here early because we had to get 2 trains, and the second train is 4.5 hours. And so we got up early, and I was just sort of milling around, getting ready. And then by the time we realised it was time to go, we were 20 minutes late leaving. We had to drive for 40 minutes to catch the first train. If we didn't catch the first train, then we would have missed the second train, and then we would have to have bought new tickets because it's allocated seats. It's not just, if you miss this one, get on the next one. And the guy said to me, we're late, we need to go. And I thought, oh, okay. And we got in the car and we were sort of driving. He said, right, we're 20 minutes late. Hopefully we can make up the time. And I was thinking, it'll be all right. And I said, we've got to get petrol. And I could see him thinking, oh, no, we've got to stop for petrol. So we got to the petrol station. He jumped out and I said, shall I go in and get some coffee? He goes, you haven't got time for coffee. I said, well, you're getting the petrol and you've got to pay. I may as well go and get some coffee. So soltering in there, ordered some coffee, got back in the car and off we went. And he was actually a little bit shaky because he did organise it all, mind. I don't think I'd be capable at the moment of organising anything. I find it hard to organise going to the loo. And we got there and it was fine, and we got on the train and it was fine. And there was just no feeling of agitation about anything. And I did realise if we missed the train and we couldn't go, I didn't care. I wanted to go, but if I couldn't have gone, I wouldn't have been bothered. And then on the night of the concert, we went and met our friend, and then we were sat in this park, and the concert started at 9:30, and we went to the park about 7 o'clock, and we were sat chatting, and then I realised it was 8:45, and we didn't even really know where the venue was. All we knew that it was called the Razzmatazz Club, and we'd asked our friend, do you know where this is? And he said, oh yeah, it's over that way, sort of, and he sort of had a vague idea. We'd asked earlier in the day. So we said, we better go because we've got to find this place. And so he said, right, okay, have you got a map? Is it your phone? We said, well, no, we haven't. We didn't have anything. We don't have a mobile phone. Neither of us use one. And, because now everyone's got these phones that tell you everything. It's magic. But anyway, so off we went. We went walking off in the direction we thought it was. And of course, we're walking along, and we had a sort of vague idea that one of the roads we had to go down was called Cala Princesa or something. So we're walking on this really long road, and we weren't coming across this road. And again, Guy was getting a bit like, oh God, it's 9 o'clock, it's 9:05, it's 9:10, we're just walking. I was just completely okay. I just thought, well, we'll find it, it'll be all right. But I knew that even if we hadn't found it, it would have been all right. It didn't matter. But it did matter because I wanted to go. But it feels a little bit like everything's a bit shruggy at the moment. Oh well, it's all a bit, oh well. And in the end we found a taxi, and we got in, and we never would have found it. It was about 10 minutes away from where we were wandering around. So by 9:20 we were there, and we went in, and it was brilliant, and we loved it. We enjoyed it, both of us. And but again, I did enjoy it very much, but not with that same sort of feeling of deep excitement that I would have had before, or wonderment that I would have had before. I just enjoyed it in a calm way. It's so strange, really. And then the next day, because we stayed for 3 days, we had the 2.5 days, by the following evening, I felt completely full because we went out and we wandered all around the city. We went out for lunch and dinner with our friend, and I felt like, because I hadn't been able to meditate at all, I hadn't had any time, it was so full on, that I felt like my brain just started to shut down completely. It was as if I felt that I couldn't even really speak anymore. It was as if I just needed to be in the void. And it wasn't really possible. I went to bed earlier than them so that I could have a little bit of me time. And then we got on the train to come home. And as soon as I was settled, it was 4.5 hours. As soon as I was settled on the train, it's like my mind just went gone. And it was as if the train journey was about 15 minutes, because I just disappeared inside. And we got, I said to Guy, what time is it? But I came out the other side of it, and it was as if all the tiredness and all the kind of feeling of overwhelmedness, because I had a bit of that. I'm not used to that much visual stimulation, that much conversation, and just doing all the time. I'm used to very quiet and sedentary life. But that 4 hours of just going into myself, I felt completely refreshed again. So, yeah, it's a great experience, really. And it's so nice not to have to be worried about everything, not have to be thinking, oh my God, we're going to miss the train. Oh my God, this is going to happen. Oh, what if we do this? What if we do, none of that. It's just clarity and acceptance. But at the same time, I admittedly am feeling quite weird. Just a bit empty, but not in a bad way. It's really hard to describe. It's different. It's a differentness that I'm not used to yet, and I think it's going to take a while to settle into it, and to get used to this new way of being. Yeah, I don't really know if there's anything else to talk about. So I don't think that this has been that good or interesting, and I don't know really whether I need to just stop doing this for a few weeks and collect myself a bit, find who and what I am now. I don't know. So yeah, I'll keep you posted. I mean, maybe I'll just do some little kind of 5-minute ones just so people know what's going on. I was talking to someone yesterday, and he was saying that one of his teachers had said that sometimes people, when they reach this level of awakening, they come out too soon and they start to try and do things too quickly. And I wondered whether maybe I'd done that. I think, well, maybe I wasn't actually ready for this. But then on the other hand, I feel that it's actually really a good thing to be able to show people what actually happens when you're actually going through it, as opposed to afterwards talking about what you went through. Is it better to show people what you're actually going through? I don't know. I'll let you be the judge of that, because this might be just a load of old tat. I don't know. So yeah, nice talking to you again. And I hope that it's been interesting in some ways. I'll watch this again and see if it is interesting. And I'll speak to you soon, hopefully. Either that or I'm just going to go and become a woods person. I'm just going to go and live underneath a bush somewhere with one of my cats and a bag of rice. Who knows? So yeah, signing out. Lots of love. And I'll speak to you soon, hopefully, maybe.